Hello, welcome to the round table. We call it sometimes round, sometimes square, but I guess today, as you'll see in the studio, it's kind of reverse V. So today it's a V table. Nonetheless, it's the same subject, same guys. Tom Schmitz to my left, Tom James to my right. I am Buddy Martin. We do this every week. We gather here to talk about some subject that we might be upset about or happy about, USC, and we discuss things that we enjoy talking about in football. Definitely. I want to say Happy New Year to you guys, first of all.
Happy New Year to you, buddy.
And by the way, let's just start with this guy. Let him get it off his chest. I know he's dying to talk about it. I don't blame him. We're going to discuss today the bowl games, postseason games, how that impacted the conferences, what players we were impressed with, and of course, we're going to pick the national championship winner, which I'm really kind of mixed up about right now. But nonetheless, big day. Let's go ahead and say it for him. Tom James, USC, good job.
Go Trojans, Rose Bowl champs, long time coming, 8 years since they've been in the Rose Bowl, and did they make the most of it? I think that was a pretty awesome game, one of the great Rose Bowls of all time.
So you beat a team that got blown out by 30-plus points by Michigan. Oh, good job. Way to go.
That also beat one of the playoff teams. In fact, both of those teams, USC and Penn State, were victorious over a playoff team. USC beat Washington. Penn State beat Ohio State.
Comparative scores are really impossible to do. So let's not talk about something that happened in September and how it relates in January.
Agreed.
But I will say this. I didn't believe USC had the stuff. But I'll tell you, after seeing them, we'll talk about this in a minute, this team, this quarterback, they are special. But today we're going to talk about what teams we saw and who impressed us about the future, Tom. I know you've got yours, I've got mine. So who wants to take off with how did this impact the conferences? The mighty SEC? Maybe not so mighty anymore, Tom.
Well, they went 6-6 this year in the bowl game. Still got a bowl game to go with the championship bowl. They could finish 7-6. Of course, the ACC went 8-3, and if they win national championship, Clemson wins, they could go 9-3. The biggest surprise to me was the conference that everybody said was the conference that was the toughest, best conference in football had caught the ACC because they had Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. They have Urban Meyer at Ohio State. James Franklin had turned the Penn State program around. Wisconsin was still playing in big bowl games. That the Big Ten was the conference that was now at the top of the mountain. Only problem is they only won 2 bowl games.
And we thought they were too, in terms of when they went to the end of the season, it looked like. And I believe somebody at this table kept referring to it as the almost competitive conference every time he talked about
the ACC, the almost competitive conference.
Yeah,
the problem is they went 8-3.
Yeah.
So now they are officially the most competitive conference, right?
Right. They
would
may
say
be
that.
one of the most competitive conferences.
Okay.
But top to bottom, you could make an argument the ACC is the best conference top to bottom in football right now.
Now, yes, agreed.
Here's the problem,
Agreed.
Tom James. I'm not sure you can compare apples to oranges. You know, you're talking about my best versus your best.
Okay.
Talking about the middle of the conference, the average game. I mean, it's hard to really know what this means because if Alabama wins and dominates, then what's that statement mean? So it's really difficult to say this is a referendum on the best conference or whatever.
Yeah.
Certainly the ACC, though, they have bragging rights right now for sure.
Well, right now is the bowl season is when we really find out, I think, which conferences are the best, because this is when they really match up against the other power conferences in the country. And it's been incredibly telling. The conference that most people thought was maybe the best conference, top to bottom, this season, at least Big Ten apologists have said that they were the best conference all season long. Their 3 best teams all lost. Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. And Wisconsin won by 8 in their bowl game. So clearly the Big Ten has taken a hard hit. The SEC, well, we'll see. They have a team in the national championship game. We'll see how the rest of the conference looks as it compares to the rest of the nation. But the ACC has proven itself. They've proven themselves in the bowl
Well,
games.
the way I look at it is if you go down, take Alabama off the board.
Yeah.
Because Alabama's head and shoulders above everybody else. Now, I think you can take Clemson off the board in the ACC.
Sure.
Because they're head and shoulders above everybody else. Then you start going down, is Florida State better than the second best team in the SEC? Well, the second best team in the SEC, most people thought was Auburn, and they got embarrassed by Oklahoma, a team who was crushed by Alabama early in the season. Ohio State early in the season.
But they won 10 in a row.
Right, I understand, but then you go to third best team in the SEC. Some people say it's Tennessee. Some people say it's Florida. Third best team in the ACC, Louisville. I don't think Tennessee or Florida can beat Louisville in a neutral site at all. I just don't think it can happen. When you start doing it that way, I think the ACC is a better conference. But, like Buddy says, if Alabama wins the national championship, then what do you say?
Or if Clemson wins it, then how good is the ACC? All right, in a limited amount of time here on our V table, let's talk about.
I change the table up every week.
Every single week.
Around, there'll be
Always
actually
looks different.
a O and then an L or whatever. But let's talk about the SEC. Look, we don't need postseason games to know the SEC's down, okay? Number one, how many games did Steve Spurrier win? How many did Les Miles win? How many did Mark Rick win? There's a bunch of wins right there, probably well over 450, whatever it was. You take those number of wins out of a league, coaches, that's a bunch of coaching talent. And we know the quarterbacks were not that good this year in the SEC. So naturally, there's some catching up by the other people. I don't think it's a referendum. The SEC is still a powerful conference, if not the best, certainly right in there. I'm not willing to say now, okay, let's push them down to third. They aren't that good. I think the SEC at least deserves number two, no worse than number two. And what happens if Alabama blows out, beats Clemson? Speaking of which, let's put it on the line right now, my man. I gotta tell you, I'm gonna go first. I am tempted to pick Clemson. I didn't learn from my friend Tom, who last week picked them against a good Ohio State and just whipped them bad. I'm thinking, why not? They got the best quarterback. I'm only sorry I didn't vote for Deshaun Watson, number one on my Heisman Trophy ballot, because that guy looks like he's the guy.
Best player in football, ask him.
Yeah, unfortunately, that kind of goes back and forth like your opinions every 5 minutes. Depends on when you ask him.
The waffler at the table.
Is there
right?
no
The
question
waffler.
about it? Eggs and waffle, never mind. That's something else.
Chicken and waffle.
Don't start with that. We'll be here all day talking about food. But
yeah.
I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, I'm willing to give ACC all the credit in the world. I'm not willing to say they're better than the SEC. Okay. It's a down year for the SEC, but I think they'll be back.
You know, I think that this national championship game is going to say a lot. Clemson, Alabama, it's the two best conferences. I still think they're the two best conferences in football. I think it's a recruiting war more than anything else, because Dabo, by the way, is trying to tell kids, you don't need to go to Alabama to win. You can come right here to Clemson, South Carolina and win. And by the way, they got all kind of amenities at Clemson, South Carolina, just like they have in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So this is a game that is going to not only pit the two conferences I think the best, but maybe, I know one of them is the best coach in football. Dabo Swinney needs to start being put in that discussion. But
Sure
I think it comes down to
Make a pick.
the offensive coordinator at Alabama is different this week than it was last week.
Better or worse.
Continuity is an important thing in football, especially at the end of the season in championship games. I think Clemson probably wins this football game.
He's picking Clemson. I'll let you take 10 seconds of bragging rights because USC looked really promising for next year, and Sam Darnold. And I think it's, we kid you about it, but boy, that team looked impressive. And by the way, Penn State, if they won that game, the committee would really be embarrassed because I think their 3, 4, and 5 teams all got beat by the committee. So how'd they do? But you get a chance to make the pick on the national championship. Give us a little tidbit of the Tournament of the Roses and your boy Sam Arnold.
Well, I wasn't real pleased with the fact that USC gave up 7 consecutive touchdowns on 7 consecutive drives against Penn State. Wasn't real pleased with the fact that they gave up 49 points. Their defense has been a lot better than that coming into this game. But there's a lot of pride in a win like that. It's the biggest win the Trojans have had in quite some time. So it's nice to have them back as Rose Bowl champions. Again.
Probably since the guy named Reggie Bush was there. Oh, but he never went to USC.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, right.
There we go.
As far as the national championship goes, I've been waiting for this for a long time, and I have no problem making this pick. And I think Clemson wins fairly comfortably.
2 Clemsons.
And I think I like them by 10 points. I think Bama might be in for a rude awakening. Bama has not faced a bevy of dynamic quarterbacks this season in the SEC. They're going to have it's going to be a wake-up call, I think, against Deshaun Watson.
Okay, in the 10 seconds I have, I'll go ahead and make a pick here. I like Alabama, almost went for Clemson, couldn't convince myself, but all in all, I think Nick Saban's still too good to get beat. He needed something to motivate him. He's got it. So I go Alabama. These guys go Clemson. Buddy Martin, Tom Schmitz, Tom James. That's the round table, or some kind of table. And we're the Knights. Good night, everybody.